Yeah, kind of.
Very shape before you know. They are fighting superhero, chance to fight the superhero. Being a real swinging shield, swinging superhero. They're the greatest ultimate superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived.
When I started, I sprung from the Depression years of this country, where the most important thing was just to have a steady job. You were a very successful person if you worked steadily by my lights. So my prime concern was to please the publisher, the work I did, so that I would have a steady job. And I was successful at that. But after a while, I realized what I was doing was pretty meaningless, and I was doing the same thing over and over, year after year. And when we started Marvel Comics, I had been ready to quit. I figured, enough. I'm a grown man now. I shouldn't stay in the comic field any longer. And my wife said, before you quit, just for fun, why don't you're going to leave anyway? Why don't you try doing some stories the way you think they should be done? And that's when we did the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, and came up with sort of a new type of more realistic, more relevant, if you will, superheroes.
I want to be a member of the Fantastic Four. So now let's get down to business. How much does the job pay? I figure I'm worth your top salary. Afraid you made a mistake, Spider-Man. We're a non-profit organization. We pay no salaries or bonuses. Any profit we make goes into scientific research. You came to the wrong place, pal. This isn't General Motors. Hello, police. I'd like to report a crime. No, I'd rather not mention my name. I'm just a private citizen trying to do his duty. Well, it's not the way the Human Torch would have handled it, but at least I'll be able to get right home and see if Aunt May needs me now. Betty is hurt because she thinks I went to the club with Liz instead of her. On top of all that, the Green Goblin is free again and may strike at any time. Why don't things ever seem to turn out right for me? Is this the price I must always pay for being Spider-Man?
We try to have the people talk like real people. We try to define the characters and have them stay in character. We try to get stories that, while imaginative, still had some realism, some believability, so that the readers could relate to and believe in the stories. In the early 60s, it's as though there was some inspiration that hit. Everything that we came out with seemed to catch the public's fancy, and then it became fun. Then I didn't want to leave anymore.
Well, one time I was listening to the radio in 1966, and I was stoned on LSD, and it was some kind of Motown song, and after it was over, the guy said, and that was Mr. Natural. So I was drawing my sketchbook, and I just knew this little character called Mr. Natural with a long beard, just real unconscious, and kind of like the characters. I drew a lot of strips about him over the years. Well, there was Fritz the Cat, who was the first real character that I had to kind of evolve from this cat that we had when I was a kid. I drew comics about to entertain my little brother and sister, and get more and more, complex character, and then finally became like this snotty college student, and then finally after that he was he burned out hippie, and then after that, the last thing was he was a burned out media star, and that was after that Fritz the Cat movie came out, and I had to have him killed off. And this female ostrich girlfriend that he had rejected stabbed him in the head with an ice pick. In the 60s, the straight media was so atrophied and locked into a certain way of doing things that you were pretty much locked out if you had any idea about doing things your own way or some other way than the way they traditionally were doing things. I wasn't going to go to New York and try and worm my way into the professional mainstream concerts. There's nothing happening there. For years, I'd already just ignored that totally, and I was trying to be a commercial artist and working for this greeting card company in Cleveland. I did hundreds of greeting cards. I got so sick of doing cards that finally I could not do another card. And by the time I quit, I was taking LSD and starting to get, out there. I go, what am I going to spend my life doing these fucking cards? And then one day in a bar, I met some guys who said they're going to San Francisco, and I just went, okay.
Trucking, got my chips cashed in, keep trucking, like to do the man together. No less in life, just keep trucking, no more.
A zoo. It was a zoo. They said, these guys said, yeah, there's this place called Haight-Ashbury that's supposed to be something going on there. So that's where we ended up with all the other, lost souls from all over America. Ended up on Haight Street, standing there, looking around. I remember sitting in this place called the Psychedelic Shop, just sitting on the floor in there for days when I first got to San Francisco, trying to figure out what to do and what was going on.
It happens at the Avalon Ballroom on Saturday of Van Ness in San Francisco. Next week, the Avalon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The posters were like the way the Kingston Trio was to Bob Dylan, the posters was to the comics. How's that, huh? So they paved the ground, so to speak. Instead, like, with one of the things that happened with the posters, you got a system of distribution. All right, the head shops. That's where the comics were first sold to. So the posters set up the system of distribution that the comics were going to be sold out of. Rick Griffin in particular and myself also to some degree were using comic book images in the posters themselves. Yeah. The posters kind of first exposed comics again in a different psychedelic consciousness.
Well, it's the psychedelic posters that kind of motivated me to come to San Francisco in the first place. Some guy brought a bunch of those back to Cleveland and showed them to me. And you immediately could tell that there was a bunch of artists who were on that wavelength, obviously involved with psychedelic drugs, and you could see from those posters that something was boiling out here. I started doing Zap comics and sold them on Haight Street. And then other guys saw it and wanted to do comics also. So the whole underground comic scene picked up from there. People say, what are underground comics? And I think the best way you could define it is just the absolute freedom that's involved. I think that's really important. I want people to forget that. That's what it was all about. That's why we did it, is because we didn't have anybody standing over saying, no, you can't draw this, you can't show this, you can't make fun of Catholics, you can't make fun of this or that. We just drew whatever we wanted in the process. I had to break every taboo first and get that over with, drawing racist images, any sexual perversion that came to your mind, making fun of authority figures, all that. We're going to get that past all that and really get down to business. It just became habitual. I don't know what I could do or what else I would do with my life if I didn't draw comics. It just seems like I somehow got put on this path real early in life, and I can't stop now.
Trashman became the symbol for a lot of the street action and things of that nature that were going on at the time. The 68 Democratic Convention had been it had ended up in a riot, and there had definitely been a feeling that young people simply didn't have to take what was given out for them. They were being sent to Vietnam to be slaughtered in some brainless war. I mean, people were really being misused, and things like Trashman and underground comics were some way of telling people that there were other people out there who felt the way they did.
The policeman isn't there to create disorder. The policeman is there to preserve disorder.